Welcome back to Financial Therapy. It's not just about the money. I'm personal financial planner, columnist, and financial therapist Rick Kahler. Research tells us that 90% of all financial decisions are made emotionally, not logically. For nearly 4 decades, I've been helping people make better money decisions. So what makes my financial worldview different from most financial experts? I blend the nuts and bolts of financial advice with the emotions that drive making them. Good money decisions are not just about the money. So let's get started with today's episode. Welcome back to another edition, and today I want to share with you an article that I read, a couple articles that I read today. One was in Psychotherapy Today, talking about toxic positivity, which is written by Whitney Goodman and is a book by Penguin. Then there was another one in Psychology Today, Can You Be Accidentally Toxic, by Tanya Luna. Both of these were written around 2022, and I don't know, I had never seen them, but they really grabbed my attention, especially when we're applying this to finances. How can positive thinking be toxic? I mean, there is all sorts of research and data, especially about gratitude, that shows how effective it is and that it can really shift a mindset. And all that's true. But as I think about that, the positive talk really needs to come from within and not from without. And that pretty much summarizes the next 25 minutes of what I have to say. Positive thinking, when it comes to our money, can be a good thing. It can help balance us. It can help take an objective look at things. But it also can be really harmful if it leads to suppressing emotions. I'm bordering on something called spiritual escape in psychological communities, where to focus on anything negative is judged in itself as having a lack of faith or almost being self-fulfilling. So you're not allowed, or bad on you if you get into any type of, quote, negative thinking. And that thinking can come from even the fact of assuming that there are negative emotions. And we've talked about this before on the podcast, that there are no negative emotions. There are no positive emotions. When you really get down to it, there are emotions. Some can be difficult, some can be light, and they all are really important and full of information. So that's the concern. Emotions like joy and gratitude and love, they're really healthy. They're important mental states from which to make sound financial decisions. But I usually try not to say but there's research that suggests a person that's in a perpetual state of positivity, of joy, makes worse decisions than people who are sad. Why might that be? Well, I think when we're in a perpetual state of joy, we're probably in a perpetual state of delusion. Because sadness and fear and hurt are all real emotions. And feeling and acknowledging those feelings can actually result in making better financial decisions. And we've talked about that on past podcasts. So the whole point is when we are suppressing emotions, we are suppressing potential wisdom in those emotions. We're not allowing ourselves to feel them fully. And that, I will say, will have a negative impact on our financial health. So here was a little quiz that Whitney Goldman had in her book. So you can take this quiz. When you feel unpleasant emotions, difficult emotions like sadness, fear, hurt, anger, perhaps, do you quickly force yourself to cheer up or immediately go to the bright side of things? We've talked about in the past with the Enneagram that there are 3 types that go immediately to positivity. That is the type 2 personality structure, the type 7, and the type 9. So if you're any one of those types, going to the positive is exactly where that personality structure goes under pressure. I'll mention that in a little bit here. If you're dissatisfied, so number 2 is if you're dissatisfied with something in your life, do you feel guilty for being insufficiently grateful for what you have? Right? Well, that's a big one. I should be grateful for this. Number 3, when people you care about are down or upset, do you try to cheer them up, even if they haven't asked you to? And number 4, do you tend to say things like, everything happens for a reason, try to find the positive, or at least it's not as bad as it could be, as a way to help others feel better? Now, if you answered yes to any of those, you may have a little bit of toxic positivity going on. And a lot of times when we are trying to cheer people up, if they haven't asked us, it's all about our projection, how we're experiencing it, and probably is hitting our fear of feeling difficult feelings. I mean, and this would be true in those 3 personality structures that I gave. The personality structures that are more apt to go with the difficult emotions are the type 4, the type 6, and the type 8. So if you're not familiar with the Enneagram, you can go to the EnneagramInstitute.com, I think, and for $12 you can take a evaluation. You can also take an evaluation of the instincts, which is really good. And it'll give you maybe the top 3 have perhaps a high probability of being the structure that you are. It's not a slam dunk test, so to speak. Enneagram must be, you have to be self-typed. It's got to be something that resonates with you, so it doesn't come from the test. It really comes from looking at those and reading the description of those personalities and seeing what really resonates with you, which is usually the one that you go, oh no, oh, that's me. Somebody's been following me around. Okay, so again, toxic positivity is the belief, oh, we should always be positive. We always need to look on the good side. Even when it's difficult times, right? So saying don't cry or time heals all wounds, things like this, can be really well-intentioned, but they can really be off. Other things would be saying you have so much to be grateful for, right? Just be happy, be positive. At least it's not something else, the highly minimizing. Your attitude is everything. You've got you got stinking thinking. You need to be grateful here for what you're learning. This will all come out. It could be worse. Just cut negativity out of your life. Don't give up, and everything happens for a reason. Those are not helpful. They are well-intentioned. But when somebody's experiencing, from their perspective, a financial disaster, these can really be invalidating to a person and in that way be harmful. Let me give you a personal example. I may have said this before, but I'll say it again. When I receive bad financial news, and believe me, I have received bad financial news more than once in my life. The average millionaire makes 3.1 bad financial decisions in their life, while the non-millionaire makes 1.6. That's research. So when I receive bad financial news, I go to the worst possible outcome. I don't care if it's a 1%, 2%, whatever percent probability it is. It's all possible. And that is where emotionally I need to start and acknowledge the fear, the hurt, how terrified, just the feelings of failure or rejection or whatever would be around that worst case scenario. If there's somebody around me that tries to do the positive immediately, that doesn't work for me. Now, my wife calls what I do going to the dark side. And for years, she went to the positive. And you might suspect that she's one of the types that does that, and she is. And eventually, she learned that that is not helpful to me. Not helpful in the least. It might be right. It might be the highest probability, but it's not helpful. I don't feel hurt. I've got to sit with these feelings. And if somebody else is with me, have them validated. They are all possible. Every terrible thing I could come up with has a possibility. Maybe not a probability, but a possibility. So over the years, she's learned that the best thing she can do for me is to listen to me and validate how scary that is, and listen to me without judgment. She knows not to tell me everything's going to be all right. So in order to process my emotions, I need to feel them, I need them to be validated. Interestingly enough, one of my children has the same approach to bad news, be it financial or other. And it was really helpful for me, because when they started doing that and going to the dark side, and I may be looking at the situation saying, no, I don't think it's quite as bleak as it's being made out to be. I knew better than to lead with that information. So if you've got somebody like this in your life, my encouragement to you is hang with them. Now, why don't people hang with them? Because the personality structures that go to the positivity under strength have a real aversion to feeling those feelings. Where Other personality types don't. They don't have an aversion to really feeling these scary, dark feelings. That doesn't mean they like them, but they'll go there. So this is really, really important. And if you don't take anything else away from the podcast today, I hope you take that away. That don't go to the positive. Don't go to the logical. Now that's where I tend to go. Types 1, 3, and 5 go to logic. Hang out with them in those difficult emotions. And so to you that experience that have beat yourself up because, I just go to the worst case scenario and criticize yourself, that inner critic. The message is it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel scared. No matter how illogical it might seem to you, the fact is you're feeling it. And it's not only is it okay, it's really important to feel that. They're all human emotions. They all can be evoked with money and financial issues. So it's really important to allow yourself to feel them. Bottling them up, pretending they're not there, positively applying positivity to them to go away is really deep sixing them. And that when we don't allow ourselves to experience emotions because they're so intense, or whatever the reason is, can lead to pervasive and chronic anxiety, can lead to depression, and all that can lead to physical health problems. So this is a big deal. This is big stuff. And it's really important that we respond to these financial challenges fully experiencing our feelings. So it's, again, just really important not to use all those statements I went over because they invalidate. When you say, oh, look at the bright side, everything happens for a reason. It invalidates the other person's feelings. It minimizes them. It's like, oh, get over it. It's pressure to be positive all the time. Oh, I'm not doing it right. If I was really mature, if I was really connected, I'd be positive all the time. Well, it's hard to be positive when you're not feeling positive. This is one of the reasons that W. Clement Stone and Norman Vincent Peale, with their very, very famous books, was so hard for me. I tried for years to develop a positive thinking, and it just didn't work. In fact, today, I just really have a part of myself that reacts pretty strongly to positive thinking. And it's like trying to force yourself into this when you are not feeling positive. And that is a self-abandonment. Never understood that. But when you've got financial stuff going on and you're feeling so scared and all the difficult feelings, to say to yourself, come on, get over it. You're feeling sad and angry about this is not right. Something's wrong with you. You need to feel positive. And then, of course, if it's coming from another person, I don't know that it can be any worse, quite frankly. Sometimes I think the inner talk is worse than some of the outer talk, but we certainly heard the outer talk usually before we integrated it into our psyche. So shutting all that down is just not financially helpful. So if you are listening to somebody and you are a positive, toxic positive person, which is hard to admit, when a spouse, partner, friend, or colleague has a threatening financial event, listen to them without judgment. Offer them support, and support can just be there with them without saying anything. Probably the worst thing you can do is give them advice in that moment. Or here's how to do it. Don't give them financial advice until they ask for it. What if they don't ask for it? Well, then don't give it. Once a person's validated with their feelings, once they feel you really get how deep, how scary this financial predicament is, then they often will ask for your feedback or what would you do, or ask for some advice. But they're not going to do that until they feel heard. And if you're giving them financial advice before they're feeling heard, it just isn't going to go well. Even if their heads are nodding and they're saying, okay, yeah, thanks. Yeah, you're right. That's great advice. So, and again, for yourself, acknowledge your feelings. Yeah, I'm feeling sad and hurt. I'm feeling embarrassed. And know that it is okay. And also, if it's from a financial thing, you kind of know a little bit where it's coming from, but sometimes the feelings seem to be so much larger than what just happened. And then we criticize ourselves, but it was just this. They just made an error on this financial statement or didn't give you back the right change. And maybe your reaction is seemingly over the top. Listen to that, because then it's not about today. That's historical. It's going back to some unfinished business that's long ago. And when there's not somebody else there to validate your feelings, and you're not getting validation, right? You're getting the toxic positivity from somebody. Validate your own feelings. It makes sense that I feel this way, considering how deeply I'm hurt, how hard I worked, how badly I wanted this. It's okay because I am feeling them. And then sitting with your feelings, right? This is a hard part. To say to yourself, I'm going to give myself some guilt-free permission to actually feel the hurt. Now, some people would call this wallowing in it, okay? I think wallowing, or what's that word? I want to say regurgitating, and that's not exactly it, but it's accurate. Wallowing in stuff. You might say, well, that's not good. Usually what we're wallowing in is the thought. We're playing the thought over and over again. We're playing the story of how badly this hurt me, and we're playing that over. Sitting with your feelings means just that. It's letting go of the thought, letting go of the story, which can keep us actually hooked, right? And keep us from feeling the feelings. It's letting the thought go and just being with that feeling, letting go of the story. And it's not talking about the feeling, it's feeling the feeling. And I've talked about the difference in that even in recent podcasts. That is so important, and it's something we resist so greatly. Because we often think we're going to be overwhelmed if we allow that feeling to really run, to really be with it. Which is usually not the case, but it's another story that we make up. And then I would encourage you to expand your feelings to look at the unmet need. And what does that mean? Well, typically, like say betrayal. Betrayal is usually a word that is two parts. There's a feeling and an unmet need. The feeling often for me is hurt. I feel betrayed. Well, I feel hurt because there are some needs I have that were unmet. Now that can be really hard. It's really hard for me. But try to understand, so I'm feeling hurt because what are the unmet needs? Not because they did this, they did that. Try to change the focus from what they did to how you are responding. I responded this way. Why? What was the story I made up? What is the unmet need behind that story? And that will be so helpful. Okay? There's a feeling. Usually it's a difficult feeling. And then there are unmet needs. So when you or somebody else says, I feel betrayed, I feel disappointed, what it's saying is there's some pretty difficult feelings around some unmet needs. So, kind of in summary with all this, the next time that you're tempted to tell somebody to cheer up or look on the bright side, it's not all that bad, good things will come from it, just take a step back and try to understand what they're really going through. This is big. This is big to them. They probably just need someone to listen, which can be so hard. And I don't want to be sexist, but somehow there's a male gene where that can be really hard to listen without advice, without trying to fix it, without giving, this is what I would do, or in some way judging it. It can be really hard, especially when you care for the person. And it just could be that they need to talk. They need to talk till they don't need to talk. And this is going to help them process their emotions in a healthy way. So it's okay not to be okay. We all go through difficult financial times. And it's really important to feel these emotions. Bottling them up is only going to make things worse. So when you're going through this, reach out for support to safe people. And don't be afraid to really go there and feel and embrace your feelings, because the reason is, on the other side of feeling difficult feelings is lightness and is clarity. We're just not feeling difficult feelings because all we should. It's like, what's the point? The point is to eventually move through them. And there will be a lightness that comes, and there will be a clarity. So, thanks so much for joining me for this. And I look forward to speaking with you next week. Take care. Thanks for joining me, Rick Kahler, for another episode of Financial Therapy. It's not just about the money. This is where I combine the nuts and bolts of financial advice with the emotions that drive making them. Remember, every financial behavior, whether it appears illogical to you or others, makes perfect sense when we understand the underlying beliefs, feelings, and thoughts. Sign up for my weekly blog at financialawakenings.com. I hope you'll join me again for our next episode.